This photo?
Yes, it should be.
Hi, I'm just gonna go real quick about a little bit overview of the main laws that set out the framework on how we work in California with wildlife connectivity. In 2005, the first law was passed, SB 857, that mandated Caltrans to identify and remediate all fish passage barriers that for anadromous fish. This resulted in the creation of the Fish Pact, which has been working for the last 20 years remediating barriers very successfully. In 2014, SB 1148 was passed. This law was more focused on mitigation banking, but you start seeing terrestrial connectivity showing there. In 2018, Secretary Order 3362 was passed to improve quality for ungulate migrations and wintering habitat. 2022, the big year that created my job, and thanks to that, I'm making money. AB 2344 and SB 790 was passed. SB 790 is a very interesting regulation because it allows the department to provide advanced mitigation credits for connectivity projects. In 2023, of course, our director went to Congress to testify for connectivity. And I think 2024 is one of the big years too, because a part of Proposition 4 was passed, so giving us a lot more money. AB 1889 was passed. And this law is really important because it's bringing local entities into the connectivity world. Anytime that a general plan is amended or updated, starting in 2028, they will have to have a whole section for wildlife connectivity with policies, measures, mitigation, and that's an incredibly important way to improve connectivity across California. Before I talk more about AB 2344, I just want to touch bases how we were handling projects in the Department of Fish and Wildlife. So we didn't have any dedicated staff working in connectivity. We were very fragmented. So every program we're handling connectivity in a different way, although we talk to each other, but people who review environmental documents will be doing some connectivity work. Habitat conservation plan staff will do connectivity too. But again, very fragmented. With that, we still created a lot of outputs. The barriers report was created before this position was created. We have the State Wildlife Action Plan, the California Essential Habitat Connectivity Project with California, which is a very large-scale connectivity project. We collaborate with the USGS for the ungulate migrations, and we create the ACE. I know that you might not like it that much, but we have that. So going a bit about AB 2344, it's fully established in the spring of 2024. We have a position in each region. And again, it's a fairly complicated law, so I try to summarize it with a few of the most important items. One of the most important, in my opinion, is the creation of connectivity areas. As you can see in this list, connectivity areas is any area that is a barrier for migration for sensitive species or listed species, is any area where there's ungulate migrations, any area where it's an important linkage for a habitat conservation plan, any area where a road is surrounded by open space or natural space or protective areas, or any area where there's high mortality. So, and also areas where we have animals coming towards the road and they turn around. Again, fairly large and almost a lot of areas will be considered connectivity areas. Another important part of this law is the creation of the inventory of connectivity needs. Caltrans in the summer of 2024 released the first list, and it's a comprehensive list of projects to remediate some of those connectivity areas. Another very important step forward for connectivity is the wildlife connectivity assessments. Those start in July of 2025, so we're about to start having the first ones. And this law requires Caltrans to submit this assessment to us right at the very beginning of the project. So in the right time to incorporate mitigation measures for connectivity, because as you guys know, they're really expensive and you cannot do this at the last minute. Lastly, this law created a remediation program. Unfortunately, there has not been any funding, so the program has been in a pause right now. So with AB 2024, we were able to create our team. This is the list of our staff. We have one senior environmental scientist in each region working with connectivity projects, along with Fraser and many of the NGOs. We have an engineer too working for us, which is very helpful when we look at the science. And of course, we have some staff for biogeographic data branch, where they were doing most of the science before us, and their feedback is incredibly important for us. Just a brief, what is our mission? What is our objectives? So it's to improve wildlife connectivity and roadway safety across California, and always we want to use the best available science. When we talk about wildlife, it's the same definition that we have in the Fish and Game Code section 89.5, which is pretty much everything. So a very huge task, include plants and all their habitats. How are we going to be working on these settings? So in the planning phase of the projects, of course, we're mandated to help Caltrans and work with them to implement AB 2344. We need to identify those connectivity areas as part of our main work. Related to the connectivity areas, you will see the various document, updating it and keeping it up to date so Don can fund more projects. We're also going to identify and conserve lands, linkages areas, and also lands that we need to protect so we can have good connectivity projects. We're going to provide engineer advice as needed. So if any entity needs some advice around connectivity, our doors are open. And we're going to try to develop best management practice. This is a project in progress that we're trying to finish by the end of the year. Also, we're going to sit our staff with CICOET reviews, the general plan updates starting in 2028. And another thing that I want to make sure that everybody have it clear is our doors are open to anybody who wants to work in California with habitat connectivity. So all our staff are open if anybody wants to work with us. During construction, of course, our role is much smaller. We don't build projects. So we just going to make sure and collaborate with Caltrans that these projects are built up to specs. And of course, all these projects change all the time. So we're going to make sure that if they change, they're still effective. In the monitoring phase, of course, we are currently monitoring and started implementing some monitoring for some projects and to check their effectiveness. And of course, we're going to incorporate all the measures, all what we learned in the other phases of the project. We need to do outreach and let members of the public to know that connectivity is really important for them. And how are we going to do this? We need money. And AB 2344 only give us money for my salary and the staff salaries. We don't have any monies. So where are we going to find it? Caltrans has mitigation projects, so we're going to work with them. And also they have funding dedicated to remediate these barriers. And also grants. I think in the last year, we have worked with the NGOs and other entities, and we have applied for every grant possible. We have Section 6 grant, PR grant, all of them. And again, we just started a year ago, so the funding is starting coming to us. And how are we going to do this? Well, these projects are complicated, and it's impossible to anybody making it alone. So we're going to be working with every partner that we can. Port Caltrans is a little bit highlighted because they own the state highway system, so we are going to be working with them mostly. But local entities, the general plans, we need to work with them too. They have also roles. We're going to be working with tribes. Their opinion is incredibly important for all these type of projects. And also federal agencies. They provide funding for now, and also they also give us permits, so we need to expedite these projects. This is the same thing with our programs. We have programs that provide us funding, but also they get permits, so we're going to try to expedite these projects. We're going to work with universities because what they provide us is essential to complete any other projects. Fraser is doing a great job with a lot of the projects with WCB. We're going to work with the Wildlife Conservation Board. We meet quarterly and talk about projects, and of course, NGOs. Without the NGOs, I think we couldn't complete half of the projects that we have. So it's incredibly the support that they're providing to us. Just a briefly overview. Since 2022, the department has used or provide $85 million for connectivity projects. Of those, that includes the $20 million for the 3 overcrossings along I-15 and the Mojave for the high-speed train. And that funding is used for land acquisition, planning, construction, monitoring, and connectivity side. So we are trying to fund everything. We're currently monitoring about 140 terrestrial connectivity projects. That's a small set. Again, Fishpack has been working for 20 years. I think the public-private partnership that has been created, that we're working with them, have about 450 projects, and a lot of them are Fishpack. Those projects that we're keeping track are standalone mitigation connectivity projects, or it's mitigation from another project. We're also working in the barrier dataset. Again, I apologize. I have 2 presentations. One where I announced the new barriers dataset, and this one. Unfortunately, it's currently with the director, and And I think in the next few days, maybe weeks, we will have release of the new data set, which is going to be a web page with an interactive map and a database with a one-pager document where everybody can download it, and they will have information about each barrier. It will be in conjunction with the priority areas of Secretary Order 3362. So everything will be together in that map. The current 2024 data set that Don doesn't have has 204 segments, of which there's 10 priorities for each region, so that's 60, and 2 top priorities. So how do we select those barriers? How we rank them? So we use these attributes. I'm not going to go over them. The only thing I want to highlight here is, if you guys remember the connectivity areas, these attributes are pretty much almost the same. So it was used for the law. So again, I would say that all barriers are connectivity areas, but not all the connectivity areas are barriers. There's a lot more there, as you saw how wide that definition was. This is a big, have you ever seen the map with the new barriers? So in 2020, we have 61 segments. In 2022, we have 146 segments. And you can see how in 2024, when we have one individual person in each region, we have been able to complete much better the attribute table and have 204 segments. So one barrier, I'm glad to announce, that has been remediated because there was projects that they were built. The rest has been split. We have new barriers. As I say, the attribute table has been improved, and now we have the numbers of lanes in the roads in each barrier and things like that. I want to touch bases real quick with the state action plan that we updated in October last year. As you guys know, well, you might not know, Secretary Order 3362 requires us to identify 5 priority areas for the whole state for ungulate migrations. So we create this new one on the top northeast section of California in Modoc County for pronghorn. Pronghorn in Modoc County has been declined year by year. So we wanted to highlight this area, and it's been incredibly successful. Ever since October, when we created this, we have many NGOs that have provided projects to improve habitat and connectivity for species. We also combined 2 of the priority areas for mule deer that is down south from the new one. They were next to each other, so there was no point to have them separated. And the one down south in the eastern Sierras too, we make it wider, much larger, so we can have better projects along the range. I just want to briefly touch bases that ever since the Secretary Order 3362 was signed, we have gotten $1.2 million for projects. And last week, or 2 weeks ago, we got $200,000 to doing habitat restoration projects along Highway 395. So we're going to use that to augment some projects that we've been funding. To finish this presentation, I'm just going to show you some map with some of the examples of projects that we've been starting or working on in the last few years. I want to highlight one now that Neil Sharma is here, since it was incredibly the Doyle Wildlife Area Restoration Project, Wildlife Conservation Network provided $500,000. And if we are successful and we get the grant, we will have $1 million to improve habitat in Lassen, which is a very important area for pronghorn and mule deer. But as you guys can see here, we have 2 Section 6 grants with NGOs that we are applying for the project. Well, one is with the ACS, Yosemite Top. Another one is the Santa Cruz Ascended Tall Salamander. We're working with the universities. We have some pure science projects for mountain lions movements. We're working in fencing removal in Modoc County. We're going to be monitoring the I-15 free overcrossing. So we already purchased the collars for bighorn sheep. We also have purchased 400 cameras that we're going to be installing in different locations. And we have a project in the Tehachapi, which is a very important location where we're collaborating with NGOs, TNC. I think you're part of it too, where we are doing a rock of ecology project. I said it's really important because it's a connection between the Sierras and the Southern California mountains. Yeah, those are all some of the bigger projects that we're dealing. And with that, I'm just going to leave it open for questions.
That's the most perfectly timed presentation ever. Thank you. Yeah.
I have a similar question about mitigation. You brought up SB 790 and various points across your presentation, talking about projects being used as mitigation for impacts. And it seems to me that SB 790 is in conflict with some, the WCB funding, some of the CEQA exemptions, restoration projects. And it seems like we're kind of limiting our funding opportunities for projects by kind of cutting off the ability to use them as mitigation. You brought up caltrans mitigation projects. They also have limited funding to actually implement this. And with some of these projects where there's a bunch in the region, they're in the same region, all applying for the same pot of money. Just wondering on your kind of outlook on project mitigation, or using contributory projects for mitigating other project impacts.
When you talk about other project impacts, what do you mean? Is the same project that is causing the impacts, or is other projects?
Other projects.
So SB 790 has been advancing quite a bit. They were creating a credit to, they have a credit that they have developed, and they have to come with a factor to see how many credits each project will develop. And I think they have a meeting very recently that we participated to create that. And now it's up to, we're trying to find examples of projects that they can be implemented. So again, this was passed recently. I think they have a couple of projects with some of the districts in Caltrans in the pipeline, because Caltrans has an advanced mitigation program. And I think we just need a few to start, and then we will be able to start using them more. It's just a lot of resistance for headquarters and others, just because they think they're going to delete the projects. We're trying to change that mind, but I'm fairly optimistic that when we approve one or two projects, we will be able to use those credits for future projects. And with IB 2344 and this assessment, they're going to have to send mitigation for those projects that they might have significant impact. So those credits will be very, very, very helpful. So I'm hoping that those pressures will make us improve.
So it might change in the future.
I'm helpful. I have to be helpful.
I have a follow-up question. That since mitigation usually is just compensating for the harm that's caused by a project, it seems that the WCB funding and some of these other things are more for the legacy impacts that we've never addressed and that have never been mitigated. So is it appropriate to keep them separate, where things could mitigate for themselves, but they will still need to address legacy impact?
You would have to change a paradigm on how we mitigate for projects, right?
No, I'm saying that if we keep the WCB types of work separate from mitigation, then we can address legacy impacts, whereas mitigation projects are really just addressing their own impacts, the new impacts.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I fully understand your question.
Okay, that's it. We can move. Okay.
Yeah, I was wondering if you guys in the connectivity program have been working with the wildlife program to try and focus on studies like GPS collaring in the barrier areas to have that collar data to see what wildlife are doing around roadways.
That's the price I just showed you, the Sonoran Pass. We got PR grant and we just purchased collars and a helicopter time. For the I-15, we just purchased the collars too for Bighorn Ship. We purchased collars for the State Route 58 because we're using some state-of-the-art transmitters that activated the collars in much fine print, and we purchased 200 now, and they're about to come in the next few weeks. We're trying to use ARUs, so we have I work in the wildlife branch, so I work with wildlife and I work with all the species. I have to review the bird plan recently approved. So yes, we're using ARU. So State Route 97, although there's some issues right now, we're trying to monitor that for them because we have elk and wolves collar there. And we also want to put ARUs. So we want to test during construction with all this noise if it's doing something for work, which I don't think has been not used before. We're trying to put ARUs for sage grouse too. So yes, we're purchasing collars, we're working with you. I just learned from Caltrans, actually, they provide us funding to put collars in LA, and I'm going to try to push it to see if we can move forward. But yes, we are working.
Sorry, we'll have to keep any other questions till the end if we have time. We have to move on to the next presentation.